नमस्कार, स्वागत है आप सबका। हाजिर है लगातार हम स्पेशल कवरेज के साथ मंगल मिशन को लेकर, और जिस पर भारत ने सफलता हासिल की है। और अब हम चर्चा करेंगे कि असल में थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्रीज यानी तीसरी दुनिया के देशों के लिहाज से इस तरह के मिशन के क्या मायने हैं, किस तरीके से वो उनकी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी या फिर दूसरे पहलुओं पर मदद कर सकते हैं।
Indeed, history has been scripted by the Indian scientists with the first interplanetary mission of India kicking off this morning successfully. The day is being dubbed by many as a game changer. Some call it a watershed moment, but it's surely a celebration of the space science and the 500 scientists who've put in their heads together for the last 15 months to make this mission accomplished. Joining me now is an enlightening panel of guests. Prominent scientist Amita Pandey joins us in the studio. VP Sandlas, who's the mission director, Satellite Launch Vehicle ISRO. Welcome to both of you. And also joining us is Mr. Ramachandran of the Hindu Group. Welcome all of you on this special broadcast of Rajya Sabha television. If I could begin with you, Mr. Sandlas, probably the reality is still sinking in. Just few hours before, actually we've grabbed the headlines that India is almost on the Mars. It's in the orbit and it's going to touch upon Mars now. What next is really the future now?
Future of this MOM mission itself.
Right.
MOM mission future next couple of hours, 2-3 hours, we will know how good photographs it is taking. And every single step like this, when new people get involved, new science emerges, new information emerges. So we are all looking at data. We are very confident we will see new things, but what new things that we don't know. And this is the reality of science, that every single step produces new data, new knowledge. And I think this will be no exception.
अमिताभ जी, मैं अगर लौटूं उस विषय पर जिस पर हम चर्चा करना चाह रहे हैं कि असल में दुनिया के जिन देशों ने इस तरह का अभियान किया उनके बारे में कहा जाता है धन की कमी नहीं है, उनके अपने अलग उद्देश्य हैं। थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्रीज़, भारत जैसे देश के लिए इस तरह के मिशन क्यों ज़रूरी हैं आपकी नज़र में?
पहले तो ये मैं बात करना चाहूँगा कि नासा को भी काफ़ी दिक्कतें थी, उनका काफ़ी बजट कट हुए थे स्पेस जो स्टार वार के ज़माने में भी, उसके बाद भी। तो एक नए तरह की साइंस करने का इरादा पैदा हुआ। और उन्होंने कहा हम छोटे मिशन होंगे, बहुत बड़े मिशन नहीं होंगे, रोबोटिक मिशन होंगे, क्योंकि मैन मिशन पिछले मिशन में सेशन में चर्चा हो रही थी, मैन मिशन को लेके प्रॉब्लम्स की। हमारी जो वीकनेस है हमारी ताकत बन सकती है। हमारी जो कामयाबी, हमको एक ऑटोमेटेड मिशन वहाँ मार्स से भेजने में सफलता मिली है। आप देखेंगे काफ़ी लंबे समय से मैन मिशन थोड़े ठंडे पड़े हुए थे, काफ़ी चांद की यात्रा के बाद। ISS इंटरनेशनल स्पेस स्टेशन में आदमियों को भेजा जा रहा है। आज जो ज़माना आ रहा है मैन एंड रोबोट कॉपरेशन का ज़माना है। हम नेशंस के बीच में कॉपरेशन की बात करते हैं, साइंस में भी मैन एंड रोबोट का कॉपरेशन, क्योंकि हमने जैसे देखा कि हमारे इंस्ट्रूमेंट इंसानों की आंखों से बेहतर देख सकते हैं। जो कंप्यूटर हमने डिज़ाइन किया इंसान से ज़्यादा तेज सोच सकता है। अगर हम मैन और मशीन का एक जो मतलब एक कॉपरेशन और एक सिम्बाइज जिसको हम बोल सकते हैं वो होगी, वो हमारा स्पेस मिशन का फ्यूचर है। और इसमें इकोनॉमी एक बहुत बड़ा इशू है कि आदमी को अंतरिक्ष में भेजने में जो रोबोटिक मिशन भेजने में 10 गुना ज़्यादा खर्चा आता है। उसके लिए आपको हर तरह की रिडंडेंसी रखनी पड़ती है। आदमी को स्पेस में सही हालात में सही हेल्थ का रखना काफ़ी महंगा काम होता है, काफ़ी मुश्किल काम होता है। तो हमारी जो ये सफलता है हमारे लिए भविष्य में छोटे छोटे मतलब बहुत एम्बिशियस मिशन जरूर होंगे, लेकिन हम जिसको बोलते हैं कि कम खर्चे में ज़्यादा इंजीनियर्स तरीके से ज़्यादा बेहतर साइंस कर पाएँ, इसका फ्यूचर है। सभी जगह हर देश में साइंस के बजट को लेकर हमेशा सौतेला व्यवहार किया जाता है।
But Mr. Ramachandran, if I could get in you here, Amitabh is talking about the fact that there has to be a symbiotic relationship between the robotic machines and basically the human power. But do you think that manned missions obviously are a priority for any space program, but the focus is more on this robotic missions, because when it comes to the manned missions, then the larger questions of how to sustain the human being on a particular planet or wherever the mission is going to be, is that the reason why the focus is more on the robotic missions?
Firstly, as Mr. Pandey mentioned, there are a lot of issues regarding having a manned mission, particularly in interplanetary kind of missions of this kind,
right.
To land a man on Mars or even on Moon. So the first attempt should be to have a robotic mission where basic science objectives can be achieved without investing too much on sustainability of a human landing on such planets. The issue, for example, is already being tackled by ISRO by proposing to have a rover and a lander in the Chandrayaan-2 mission. which will be automated, which will be fully robotic in terms of being able to retrieve samples and send it back and analyze it and send back the data to the Earth.
But Mr. Ramachandran, why I asked you specifically about the manned missions was that NASA is already talking about a 2030s mission where they are talking about how, the farming will be done and how humans will sustain themselves maybe in that hydroponic environment where you don't need soil and probably you could grow fruits and vegetables. So, NASA has already started talking about that.
Scientific curiosity and scientific imagination will always talk of such things. But how far this is feasible in terms of cost effectiveness and the benefit that one can return from such things is an issue, and that will be asked time and again. But till then, we can do a lot of things without sending humans aboard spacecrafts of this kind. So I think the priority will be to look at automated systems and robotic systems to be able to do science in an effective way.
We need to look for one thing, like say suppose we have International Space Station just next door, hardly 300 kilometers up there, and next big city like from Delhi. Moon is also okay, you can have a weekend mission and come back. But going to Mars, suppose there is we send some humans there, we have some small setup, some problem occur there, the next supply or any problem to solve it will take again 9 months period you have to wait. You have to wait for launch window. Another issue is waiting for launch window. So we are yet to develop a closed ecosystem, the science of closed ecosystem, like in International Space Station. Sometime back there was a problem in the toilet system, so they had to hurry back the spare part. So if we are able to sustain a closed ecosystem for long duration without developing any, like say on Earth we are messing with Earth. Suppose in a closed environment we mess it up, we won't be able to survive. So I'm very optimistic about future, but again we have to develop a lot of things, then we have a sustainable manned mission on Mars or on Moon.
लेकिन सर एक जो बड़ी मैं चर्चा जो आलोचक मैं कहूँ कि ये कहते हैं कि जो गरीब देश हैं उनको एक बड़ा बजट का हिस्सा इस तरह के मिशंस पर खर्च करना पड़ता है और अगर उस बजट को डाइवर्ट करते हैं सोशल एक्टिविटीज़ को लेकर तो ज़्यादा मुनाफा मैं कहूँ एक फ़ायदा दिखता है एक बड़े हिस्से को जनता के। क्यों ऐसा कहा जाता है और क्यों आपको लगता है कि दोनों ज़रूरतें अपनी जगह हैं और मिशन इस तरह के वो भी शायद कहीं ना कहीं सीधे या फिर मैं कहूँ प्रत्यक्ष तरीके से आम जनता की भलाई के लिए ही होता है?
ये सोच अपनी अपनी है, सोचने का तरीका भी अपना अपना है। मेरा ख्याल है जब आप किसी बच्चे को एजुकेट करते हैं खर्चा होता है पर उसको खर्चा नहीं कहते, उसको बजट बनाते हैं पर खर्चा नहीं मानते, उसको आप इन्वेस्टमेंट मानते हैं। वो एसेट्स करिए, वो लायबिलिटी नहीं है, तो क्यों खर्चा करते हैं? अगर खर्चा ही समझे तो अपने बच्चों को पढ़ाई ना। साइंस में जो बजट है, इट इज़ नेवर कॉल्ड एक्सपेंडिचर इन राइट थिंकिंग पीपल। इट इज़ नॉट एन एक्सपेंडिचर, इट इज़ एन इन्वेस्टमेंट एंड इट इज़ क्रिएटिंग एसेट्स। अब देखो इस प्रोजेक्ट में अगर देखा जाए ध्यान से, वेरी लार्ज परसेंटेज इज ओनली सैलरीज ऑफ साइंटिस्ट, educationists. We have taken help from many institutions in the country. Lot of money has gone to industry to build small pieces. Lot of facilities, test facilities have been created. Some of the facilities are being used by medical people. Some X-ray facilities which are used, they are even useful for the medical people. So they are all assets, they are all investments. So to say that, I think it is a misnomer that it is like saying in poor countries people need not get that much education. There are certain minimum needs of the human beings, which I don't think anybody can relate to, whether it is meant for rich people or for poor people or for rich country or poor people.
But Amitabh, isn't it very ironical that still the benchmark of success for a space program is still, driven by the fact how economically progressive the country is? I mean, still the benchmark is that.
Yeah, like say, I want to give one example of the Michael Faraday. When he discovered electromagnetism, there is a story. The Queen or Prime Minister asked this question, what is the use of this? When his small experiment demonstrated through a coil,
and probably he said
move a magnet, the needle is reflected. So the question was, what is the use of this? And I think anecdote says this, he replied, what is the use of newborn baby? So, of course, we are a poor country, but again, like he said, we have to look at the investment. Investment science never give you loss. We may have, the mission may fail, but we learn from that failure, and without failure you cannot achieve, do something new. Every adventure, every new discovery is like, say, there are always failures, and those based on those failures, you make success. So investment in science comes back in a billion-fold or trillion-fold. I can't even imagine.
Right.
The small experiment, small playing with the magnet, now without the modern civilization, not possible.
लेकिन अमिताभ जी, कहा यह जाता है जो दलीलें हैं असल में उनके तर्क में थोड़ा दम भी नजर आता है कि आप जब इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात करते हैं दैट मीन्स कि आपके पास एक्स्ट्रा मनी जिसको आप फ्यूचर के लिए इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन जिन देशों में आधी आबादी को एक वक्त की रोटी नहीं मिल रही है, 20 से 25% लोगों को पीने का पानी मुहैया नहीं हो रहा है, 60% लोग वहाँ पर शिक्षित नहीं है, उन लोगों में पहली प्राथमिकता क्या वो होनी चाहिए, या फिर इस तरह के मिशन पर 400, 500 या 1,500 करोड़
हमें ये देखना चाहिए कि पैसा किन क्षेत्रों में फिजूल जा रहा है। अगर हम जो उस तरह का ड्रेनिंग बंद कर दें तो हमारे पास काफ़ी सेविंग हो सकती है। लोग टैक्सेशन नहीं देते हैं, जो टैक्स की प्रॉब्लम वो आप सॉल्व करिए तो उससे प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो सकती हैं। हमें उन चीज़ों में कटौती नहीं करनी चाहिए जो हमारे भविष्य है, हमारा मतलब जैसे कि आप बता रहे हैं कि हम बच्चे की पढ़ाई के लिए खर्च इसलिए करते हैं कि उसका भविष्य हमारा भविष्य है। हमेशा आप किसान जो है अपना जब बीज बचा के रखता है अगली फसल के लिए, उसको खा नहीं जाता है, उसको आखिरी दम तक बचा के रखने की कोशिश करता है कि अगली फसल उसी से पैदा होगी। तो विज्ञान में इन्वेस्टमेंट जो है वो एक सीड है जिससे हमारा फ्यूचर निकलता है, और हमेशा हमको आगे फ्यूचर में ही रहना है, भविष्य तो पीछे, पास तो पीछे छूट गया है।
It's definitely, it's a fine balancing which probably has to be done between the way the governments prioritize their investments and the way the scientists look at it. But as Amitabh is saying, you should never see an investment in science as an investment, because they say today's science could be tomorrow's technology, which could be used for the societal applications. Let's now take you live to Bangalore, where Frank is joining us with another panel of guests. Frank, over to you.
Hello and welcome to our Bangalore studio. I'm Frank Pereira on Rajya Sabha television. Let me introduce our guests that we have with us here this morning. We have with us B.S. Shailaja, Director, Nehru Planetarium. We also have with us C.V.S. Prakash, Retired Director, International Marketing, ISRO, and Y.S. Rajan, Honorary Distinguished Professor, DOS ISRO, Chairman, Board of Governors, NIT Manipur. Professor Rajan, I'd like to start with you, of course, and ask you, what is the relevance really of these kind of space missions as far as developing countries are concerned? Should they go out on such missions?
I think I would go back to 50 years ago when Vikram Sarabhai said, it is not a question of developing countries whether they can afford or not. Can they afford not to have a space technology? This is told 50 years ago. Basically the idea is India in those days was really developing. Because actually you can even say part of it was underdeveloped. We have come a long way. Now we are much more than developing, we are emerging, etc. But still there are many countries which have not used space as much. And for them, actually it will start with applications of space. Mars, of course, is a great achievement, but ISRO came to these ventures much later. Around 40 years of it were solid ground in television, telecom, using meteorological data, using remote sensing for a variety of applications. Now there is, of course, navigation. These are the things. Everybody need not start a satellite first. You can start with communications and then go towards having its own satellite. There are a number of countries which have started it. So it is not just, it is again the question, what I quoted before, it is not the question of whether they are useful or not. Can they afford to lose the bounties which come from the space technology?
Right.
They should have it. It also upgrades, one more item I will add, it also upgrades the industrial capabilities of many of them. Because in trying to do it, an electronic component or a mechanical part, and these type of things, in general there is a quality upgradation. I will come back with some examples later.
Sure, certainly. C.V.S. Prakash, should India have embarked on this, on this very successful Mars orbiter mission?
It's no question of should India. It's a planned one. It is a must actually, because see, I have been associated thanks to ISRO with both developing countries, developed countries, and poor countries in providing these space services, particularly in the remote sensing. I know that the developing countries, developed countries rather, would do to certain extent depend on their resources, but when it becomes costlier for them, they would like to go to the developing countries because it is much cheaper for them to afford the same services. On the other hand, developing countries would like to use our way of making these things possible at a lower cost, and then not to invest that much as we have invested, and then get the advantage. And the undeveloped countries, they would like to really have all the things that developed countries have, and they want to have it through the developing countries. This is one thing I have found out. And so if MOM has done this fantastic job, obviously all the countries, either developing or those who want to develop, they would like to take a lesson from that.
Okay.
And it's a good thing to have been done.
This is a good thing to have. We're going to learn many lessons from it. What kind of lessons, Shailaja, is the society really going to learn from this?
Okay, any nation will have the tag of underdeveloped because the means of education may be minimal, and the applications of space technology to the field of education and medicine is today so well known. Apart from the communication where you use the cell phones or TVs or something, I think the developing countries also would want to exploit this opportunity to make their future generation more educated and then technically capable of handling such situations. That way it is important that they tie up together and produce something so that it is beneficial for the society, for the upliftment of their own future generation.
Okay. Professor Rajan, now what is it that ISRO is doing that is far more different from what other space agencies like NASA or an ESA is doing?
See, both are different because they have to do in their national context. For USA, it was a challenge when they saw the first Sputnik being built by USSR, then the Soviet Union. So it was not merely a scientific challenge, it was a political challenge. Are we there? So they went for moon, etc., etc. And of course it triggered off a huge amount of technologies. They also did a lot of applications. The meanwhile, and lot of science work, and it has been very useful for humanity, and we also gained from it. ESA concentrated on a few items, especially the launch vehicle, and then they made an area and space for which now they have also got a lot of satellite building capability. India was very clear. Its economy was much smaller in size. It's a great country, great people, but smaller in size, much less skilled things, etc. And the time when we started, 1963, 64. Then, what are the most crying needs for the country? Telecom, reaching people, all the 600 villages are unconnected, reaching villages with the TV. Now you have got 200 channels. Telecom, what was not achieved in 15 years was achieved in 18 months of INSAT. So things like that.
So what you're saying, it's basically been very systematic.
Systematic application of space technology, which we derived from the general knowledge, but we also built in the capability, as Prakash was pointing out. Up to some point you can depend on others. So you have to have such a huge country. We have done a lot of studies because I was involved in it and this thing. So when we did it, we find that a country like India need to possess satellite. We didn't do satellite for prestige at that time. We didn't do a launch vehicle for prestige. We didn't do this one for launch vehicle geosynchronous. But there is a statement attributed to Sarabhai. We are not competing with the Jonases. Because
talking about prestige now, Prakash, what is the Mars orbiter mission all about? Is it clearly prestige? Are we going to get a lot of lucrative or commercial deals after this? Is it to prove a point to the world that we are also as good as the best in the world?
See, you can take it as a secondary benefit. See, we never go to prove a point to the world. We want to prove a point to ourselves.
Okay.
Whether we can do something with whatever resources we have with us. So Mars orbiter mission is an excellent example of that. And it has been with the Chandrayaan, it has been any other satellite, and all our satellites are 10 times lower cost than what it is. But at the same time, whether it is a developed country or developing country or underdeveloped country, whenever they embark on such technology, there are many offshoots which are going to be available for you in the country, within the country. For example, when we didn't have supercomputer and we were not getting supercomputer and we wanted to process the synthetic aperture radar data, it is India which made a computer that was available to us, and we did the processing and we helped them to build a computer which works for us.
Yes.
It took time to us because we could have imported that, but it took time for us to build that, but we were successful at that point of time. So every high technology like this provides an offshore, which is very important, and MOM is no different.
So 450 crores very well spent is what you're saying, and we're going to see the
It's
effects
very
of it.
less spent.
Yes, but very less, but still
spent.
very well.
Because 450 crores has created few thousands of crores of facility which can do such 450 crores, 10 such missions. Understand? That's the logic, at least I look at it.
A message is also being sent out to the rest of the world, isn't it, Shailaja, with this
Yes.
mission especially, because, you know, NASA and the others has spent 5,000 crores for its Maven, but we've spent 450 crores. So clear message is being sent that
Yes.
ISRO likes to take up such challenges
Yes.
and ensure that it delivers on those challenges as
Yes.
well.
So the reliability, that is the point. So the reliability aspect has been proved. So that's where we have to pat ISRO, and therefore hereafter all future missions can be programmed here, can be planned here, and so can be launched here also. This is the kind of confidence that we have developed today, and so the future missions, say for example to the asteroids or comets, can be planned from India too. So we have no confidence, we have developed confidence.
All right. Our studio in Delhi, of course, has a question for our panelists here. So let's go across to Delhi and hear that question.
या फ्रैंक, बार बार ये बात होती है कि तीसरी दुनिया के जो देश हैं उनके पास समस्याएं काफ़ी ज़्यादा हैं और बजट का एक बड़ा हिस्सा वो अगर मार्स जैसे मिशन पर या किस तरह के मिशन पर खर्च करते हैं तो उन पर कई तरह के आरोप लगते हैं। क्या लेकिन ये कहा जाए कि भारत जैसे जहां पर करीब 1.7 बिलियन खर्च करता है एक साल में अपने स्पेस मिशन पर और नासा जैसे 17.8 बिलियन खर्च करता है, तो भारत ने जो लो कॉस्ट ये स्पेस मिशन मैं कहूँ कि एक आइडियल मिशन तैयार किया है, इसे किस तरह से वैज्ञानिक देखते हैं और क्या माना जाए कि डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज के लिए ये एक आइडियल मॉडल होने जा रहा है?
Already discussed that, Professor Rajan, and how it's going to be an ideal model as far as developing countries are concerned. That was the first question that we took, in fact. But would you like to add something to that?
Actually, it's a good point. See, what we do is not that all completely, totally new. But what ISRO has done is to learn from everybody else, both good and bad. There is a great Newtonian saying, you stand on shoulders of others to go up. We do that. But we have learned, and as Prakash said, it has been done indigenously. And when we came to Mars, not about 20 years ago, Chandrayaan, not 20 years ago, when we have stabilized all those 4 missions, it is time that you have to prove much more to yourself. And there are many future application missions and also adventure missions will require autonomy. What we have got in MOM is called autonomy.
Yes.
Up to now, real time control. जैसे माँ का ये है ना, ऐसे पकड़ के खींचती है, वो बच्चे उधर से जाएगा नहीं बाहर. अभी ये ऐसा नहीं है. This is like this, that the fellow is preloaded. It will do. You can only get information after 15 minutes.
Yes.
You say, Mom, everything is over. So
Yes.
it is like that. So that type of autonomy will require for many of the missions of the future, which will require robotics, orbital cleaning. As he said, there will be thousands of derivatives of this. It's time we should go. We have been standing on shoulders, now we should also give our shoulders to others. That's what we have achieved. And then the careful planning is such, don't try to imitate somebody the same way. That has been a systematic of ISRO all the time.
Yes.
You do your systems engineering.
Yes.
You see what is the end application. Do according to it, tailor, we do the calculation, we do those engineering calculations. That is where MOMS is a very great example.
Yes, it is indeed a great example, isn't it, Prakash? I mean, as far as this entire mission is concerned, everything is controlled solely by ISRO. Everything is indigenous. The only help that we are taking is NASA's help as far as the ground antenna is concerned, but that is unavoidable. I mean, even NASA is taking our help.
No, that's true with any country who have to cover the whole earth. I mean, you can't do it in your geographical location. You will have to have the dependency on others. But as Dr. Rajan said, we have also learned how to stand on the shoulders, but when they duck also, we know how to hang on. That's what has happened in many examples where the last minute we have been able to make to ourselves with what we don't have from others, support from others. And 450 crores or whatever, that this is a time tested question. Whatever money that is spent, it is not spent, it is an investment.
Yes.
It is invested to build it. See, I was involved in the Bailalu facility when the computer systems were set up. I know we have done it in 1/10 of the cost whatever a commercial person does it. So it's an investment which has already earned you that kind of money.
And we've made investments in the past, like Professor Rajan was pointing out, and we are reaping the benefits of it right now. For instance, mobile communication, our dish TVs or our television channels at home. At one point in time, we used to have 2 channels. Now we have 250 channels, like Professor was pointing out. So this is really the investment. So we can't look at it really as money being wasted or money being spent, but really as money being invested, isn't it?
Yes, that is true. That is what I said, that for the future generation, we are building a platform, so that they can work on that and then continue this forward, so that it is beneficial to our own future generations and we learn to stand on our legs. So that way these kinds of attempts and the successes associated with them are very important. Even failures for that matter, I would say, are important, because from failures only you learn how to correct yourself.
Yes.
But fortunately we have been always successful, so that adds to the thing that we have been right all along, right from the means to the end, we have been right. Therefore, that's a lesson to the next generation, that they should work for the country, inside the country. They don't have to go out and learn something. We have all expertise available within our country. That
Indeed.
is important.
Indeed. I mean, talking about success and failure, Professor Rajan, 52, expeditions have been sent to Mars, out of which only 22 have been successful. That's a percentage rate of what, less than 50%. So it's incredible that we've hit Mars on the first try itself. But going forward, is there going to be a lot more trust on ISRO because this particular mission has been successful on the first shot? How are people going to look at ISRO, and what kind of commercial viability is it going to bring in?
See, I am very happy that our first mission went very well successful. But one thing we have learned in ISRO, we are never, in fact, I think Chairman told 2-3 days ago, you might have got 10,000 runs, but still if you want to go for a new match, you have to play it fully, full as if it is your first match. So we always do this. So it is a great success. At the same time, one of the greatest strengths of ISRO, if you look back its history, it knew how to handle its failures. We don't witch hunt people. Oh, you did this, you did this, you did this, you didn't hear that day. It is a collective team responsibility, the teams which take the responsibility. It is the chairman who just says, it's my responsibility, you don't worry. There will be no fixing of responsibility of somebody who lapsed.
I'm going to cut you short there, Professor Rajan, because the former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh has reacted to the success of this incredible Mars orbiter mission. Let's go across and listen to what the former Prime Minister had to say.
This achievement also places India in a very elite club of advanced spacefaring nations who have reached Mars, joining Russia, USA and the European Space Agency. We are indeed humbled by the privilege of having been the government that piloted the Mangalyaan project. Its imminent success gives us, our scientists and the nation, immense satisfaction.
Well, in fact, that was the former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, in fact, reacting and congratulating ISRO and congratulating the entire team of ISRO for, successfully completing this mission. Well, the mission is not yet complete, it's just begun. In fact, the next journey of the mission really has begun Professor Rajan. I mean, but words of encouragement and words of thanks to coming from the former Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi too spoke earlier in the day, and clearly, of course, a big pat on the back really as far as ISRO is concerned.
Yes, it is indeed. When you asked about the trust, one was this has been done with a very carefully meticulated, but you look at our polar satellite launch vehicles, it is from 25th or 26th, running continuously always. This mission also was launched by it. When it was done, it was for remote sensing. Then it started doing geosynchronous. Now it is a interplanetary. In fact, somebody said PSLV can named as a planetary satellite launch vehicle. So we have achieved that standard. We will achieve it in our GSLV also. So the trust in space is that how many times repeatedly you are able to do and then make it successful. And we will work it, and undeterred by failures, learning from failures and build for it. So that on that as a whole, ISRO can be all the people, technicians, we will start from technicians, administrative staff, the scientists, engineers, managers, project managers, leaders, directors, chairman ISRO, all of them together deserve a really, that is the thing on which the country has to keep a trust. They have kept it, we are grateful to them. And that is what we have to learn. We need many such organizations in ISRO, like ISRO, to leap forward, to make a great innovative India.
Okay. Is that something that's lacking, Shailaja? Great institutions like ISRO, do we need some more of them? How many more do we need, do you think?
No, the team spirit that is there in ISRO, that kind of a thing should be there in every other institute. So ISRO that way is serving as a model. And whether it's a cricket team or ISRO team, it's a team spirit that is important. Only that it brings us success. So this is a lesson for all the other institutes, all the other small organizations also, that whatever they try to do should be as a team, not on the individual basis. Then we are bound to achieve success. So this is a great lesson that ISRO has taught every Indian, and therefore we have to be thankful to ISRO for that also.
Okay. Indeed, of course, it has been a great listen, and I'd like to thank my guests at this point in time for joining us and sharing their thoughts with us. Professor Y.S. Rajan, Dr. C.V.S. Prakash and B.S. Shailaja as well. Thank you so much for joining us on the program and sharing your thoughts with us. Over to Delhi now.
शुक्रिया फ्रैंक, और हम वापस लौटेंगे आपके पास आगे भी, लेकिन इस बीच हम बता दें कि हमारे सहयोगी टीवी रंगकृष्ण, जिन्होंने बेंगलोर में इसरो के साइंटिस्ट से बातचीत की इस पूरे सफलता के बाद, आई सुनते हैं उन्होंने क्या कहा है.
The Mangalyaan as our Mars orbiter mission, which has reached the orbit of the Mars, was monitored and controlled from here today during the Mars session. And I have with me a young person from West Bengal, Jayashree. Let's ask her what does he feel and how does she feel about today.
It is a very proud moment for all of us. So I am feeling very excited, and as well as I am very proud of it. And
did you feel that this mission would be successful in this textbook fashion? I mean, we wanted to achieve 1098 meter per second, and we got something like 1099 meter per second, which is a very minor stuff. Did you think that we would get this precise?
Okay, we are hoping for that best, but okay, we have achieved. That is our success only.
So you feel more happy that
happy.
It's not just success, but it's 100% success.
Yeah. For that, we are very much happy. We can't explain how much happy we are.
We have with us Ms. Radhika from ISRO. Let's ask her what does she do and then how does she feel about today.
So I'm very happy about this event. I'm proud to be a member of this ISRO organization. And my hearty congratulations to all of our team members.
I would like to mention one thing. We are having one, we say that it is ISRO culture. So we are known that in this organization only a specific culture is there, where there is no seniority, no juniority. You will see director level people, they will be behaving in the same way. They will be teaching to the junior most person also, and they will take their opinion whenever required, and they will do honor their opinion as well. So I feel I have worked with other organizations as well also in my past, but ISRO definitely it is different culture. Seniority, juniority, there is no bossism. You will learn in a different way. So it's really different.
Thank you, and best wishes and congratulations.
So joyous movement there in ISRO, of course, it's a big achievement for the scientists, but it's not only in Bangalore. Scientists across the country are actually celebrating this moment. Let's listen to a few scientists who have sent in their reactions on the moment.
With this first step, we have a lot of things to do. This is only first step. Like, for example, we have to go to Mars, land on Mars, do some experiments, or send a rover before that, and do many more experiments.
Mars orbiter mission now is a success. We have achieved a lot. But then what have we achieved? It is not just the rejoice, just being happy about something being successful. But we have to be proud of one thing as a nation who is beginning to get into space.
This is a great opportunity for especially the power systems design mission which has gone that far. How the solar panels operate, how the other power systems components like battery and electronics operate. It's a great challenge, and we are really actually excited to know about the results in the near future.
हर तरफ खुशी का माहौल और वैज्ञानिक एक दूसरे को बधाई देते हुए, लेकिन फिलहाल यहाँ पर रुकना एक छोटे से ब्रेक के लिए खास मेहमान बने हुए हैं, उनसे खास चर्चा जारी रहेगी।
Welcome back. You're watching our special coverage on Mars and beyond. Remember, the history has already been scripted by India this morning, especially by the scientists at ISRO. It's a big achievement. It's a red letter day, which will go down in the history of the Indian space program. We have with us an esteemed panel of guests in the studio, Mr. Ajay Lele, who's a research fellow at IDSA, and Mr. V.P. Sandlas, who's a mission director of the satellite launch vehicle ISRO. Welcome, both of you. And to begin with you, Mr. Sandlas, we had been discussing a short while back as to whether or not, the space program should be a priority for the third world countries. But the larger question is that when you're talking about the third world countries, it's just not the third world countries. It's a developed nation like US, which recently Obama had signed a $3 million bill, for the investment in NASA, for investment on a space rocket. So this kind of a priority-based argument which is there as far as the space programs are concerned, even if it is happening in the developed nations as well. So how can we say that this should not be an argument to fall back on?
No, even in developed countries, investments, if I use the word, I don't call it expenditure, on space and related activities, it has always been debated in relation to the rest of the budgets for health and education and all. So I think the situation is not different in so-called developing countries. I do not call ourselves the third world. I don't know. The word third disappeared, I think, 2-3 decades ago. Now it's first or second only. Anyway.
No, but why I quoted you the example of United States because recently, before the spring break they had, the lawmakers over there were fighting nickels and dimes over, the fact that why should Obama sign a bill which is not needed because the nation is heavily in debt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is in relative terms. So it is in relative terms related to what else the country spends on. No, so in that there is a hold is also every sector in a country, whether developed country or any other country, is always in competition. Who gets more money, who gets less money, there is always arguments. Luckily for us in our country, the Department of Space and Atomic Energy have never had that. We had got money, whatever we wanted. This issue never came up. It's a question of what more you can do. It was not that we don't want to give you money because the numbers are very small still. In related to our GDP, our budgets are very, very small still. So it is not really affecting the rest of the budgets of the country as of now. But I think our budgets of Department of Space kind of things, they are, I think, sometime an order of magnitude more efficient in utilizing the money for building space stations or launch vehicles or the satellites or whatever application we have in mind. So I think in that way, our cost-benefit ratio is much better.
Yeah, बेसिक मैं इसी पॉइंट पर आना चाह रहा था अजय साहब कि जो हमने स्ट्रक्चर डेवलप किया है और जिस तरीके से हमने मिशन बनाए हैं और अगर इसी हालिया मिशन को देखें तो कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव हैं। क्या इसके पीछे का रीज़न क्या है? क्योंकि नासा से जब हम कंपेयर करते हैं तो एक बहुत बड़ा फ़र्क नज़र आता है और शायद इसीलिए ये भी कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव सिस्टम देखते हैं तो तमाम जो आरोप लगाते थे लोग कि तीसरी दुनिया के देश या फिर गरीब देश इस तरह के मिशन पर उनको नहीं जाना चाहिए, वो शायद भारत के लिए बेमानी नज़र आते हैं।
मेरे विचार से अगर हम कॉस्ट की कंपेयर करें तो इसरो का अगर हम ईयरली बजट देखें तो इसरो के ईयरली बजट का 5% हिस्सा मार्स मिशन पे गया है। ईयरली बजट का खाली 5% हिस्सा। आप पूरे भारत का बजट देखें तो 0.01% मार्स मिशन के लिए हमने दिया है। तो अगर हम पैसे की बात करें तो मेरे विचार से तो ये डिबेट ही ठीक नहीं है कि हम पैसों की बात करें। आज आप मलबार हिल में जाइए या दिल्ली में जोरबाग में जाइए, एक बड़ी सी कोठी आपको 400 करोड़ में मिल जाएगी। सो अगर आप कॉस्ट की बात करें, किसी ने एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग कैलकुलेशन किया था कि ऑटो रिक्शा का पर किलोमीटर रेट कुछ 10 रुपया या 12 रुपया किलोमीटर होता है। अगर आप मार्स की दूरी का वो रेट लगाएं तो आप उससे भी कम आता है। तो अगर आप ये सब देखें तो कॉस्ट मेरे विचार से तो है ही नहीं यहाँ पे इशू।
But Ajay, where is the difference? It is the difference of perception. For example, if you speak to the politicians, they will say, no, we have to prioritize the budget. We will take care of how the money has to be channelized. But from a point of view of a scientist, you say that no, investments are possible. You can just channelize your investments. So is it a difference of perception, the way the lawmakers are looking at it and the way the scientists are looking at it?
No, if you really ask me, particularly in Indian context, and we are fortunate enough that irrespective of the political party in the power, science and technology, Mr. Sandlas was just now saying, has always got the money. So there is no debate as far as politicians are concerned. Politicians have never said to Indian space program or India's atomic program that we will not give you money. It's only a debate which is raised by a few NGOs and few other people who unnecessarily bring out the debate of bread versus guns and all that. I think that era was a Cold War era. Money was definitely not that much in our hand. But at that point of time also we proved it. So to my mind, neither politicians nor the policy makers and neither the scientific community. There is a debate which is just हवा में debate है, that's all.
और क्या साहब एक और फैक्ट ये भी है कि जो मैं कहूँ कि मिशन के जरिए आम लोगों की ज़िंदगी में बदलाव आते हैं, उन बदलाव को शायद हम कनेक्ट नहीं करवा पाते, या फिर हम लोगों को या कई सारे एक बड़ा हिस्सा जिसको शायद पता भी नहीं है कि इन्हीं मिशन के बाद उनको किस तरह की सहूलतें मिलने जा रही हैं।
उसमें आई थिंक कभी कभी मुझे लगता है स्पेस कहिए या गवर्नमेंट कहिए, जैसे भी इसका जो एडवर्टाइजमेंट कहना चाहिए, ये लोगों को बताना कि उसके बेनिफिट क्या हुए हैं, दैट मैकेनिज्म इज़ नॉट परफेक्ट. सो अनलेस वी गो एंड टेल पब्लिक देयर इज ए मैकेनिज्म टू इन्फॉर्म देम और उनको एजुकेट करने का, तो ये प्रॉब्लम. अब अगर सीधी सीधी बात है, सबको मालूम है आज घर घर में टीवी है. Without space technology, it was not possible, right? It is not American space technology. This is our own satellites. And today we are not able to help. Even 30% of the channels are not on our own satellites. So we have another 70% to cover. Needs are very high. Communication, telephone. People talk about mobile telephone. It is not just talking from across within the city. When you talk to Bangalore, it goes to the satellite. Okay.
But Ajay, government departments, especially the Department of Science and Technology, they do have their science outreach programs by which they go around to the villages and percolate the information. So according to what Mr. Sandlas is saying, which means that the mechanism is there, but we are not making enough use of that outreach program, or maybe we are not putting 100% in.
I think there are two ways of looking at it. One is that in our country, unfortunately, there is a view that whatever government does is not good. So from that perspective, since these are government-run programs, there will be always a debate. Tomorrow, a private industry runs a program, nobody is even questioning them. People are building houses which are costing hundreds of crores, but nobody is even questioning that. So the issue is of perceptions and issue is of a mentality. I think somewhere down the line, the common man has to understand that your mobile telephone, your television, because if you remember when Asian Games started in India, at that point of time, there was a huge debate that can we afford a colored television. Right. Now you ask a youngster today, he will even laugh at you that what sort of a budget you people, what sort of a debate you people were having. So I think these are the way society progresses, people understand.
जी, इन दूसरे पहलुओं पर भी बातचीत होगी, लेकिन उससे पहले जो कुछ खबरें मिल रही हैं उनको बता दें दर्शकों के. राष्ट्रपति प्रणब मुखर्जी ने मंगलयान के मंगल की कक्षा में सफलतापूर्वक दाखिल होने पर इसरो को बधाई दी है. इसरो के चेयरमैन डॉक्टर के राधाकृष्णन को भेजे संदेश में राष्ट्रपति ने इसरो के चेयरमैन, उनकी टीम को बधाई और शुभकामनाएं दी. राष्ट्रपति ने अपने संदेश में कहा है कि राष्ट्र को इस ऐतिहासिक उपलब्धि पर गर्व है, जिसने एक बार फिर देश की अंतरिक्ष क्षमताओं को साबित किया है. उन्होंने कहा कि ये हमारे अंतरिक्ष कार्यक्रम का अहम कदम है जो हमारे वैज्ञानिकों को उल्लेखनीय प्रगति के लिए प्रेरित करेगा. प्रणब मुखर्जी ने वैज्ञानिकों की कड़ी मेहनत के लिए उनका आभार भी जताया। उपराष्ट्रपति मोहम्मद हामिद अंसारी ने मंगलयान के मंगल की कक्षा में स्थापित होने पर इसरो के वैज्ञानिकों और इस अभियान से जुड़े दूसरे तमाम लोगों को बधाई दी है। उपराष्ट्रपति ने अपने संदेश में कहा कि आज के दिन को ऐतिहासिक है और राष्ट्र को इस उपलब्धि पर गर्व है। उन्होंने भरोसा जाहिर किया है कि हमारे वैज्ञानिक आने वाले दिनों में अंतरिक्ष की खोज के क्षेत्र में और ऊंचाइयां हासिल करेंगे और देश का नाम रोशन करेंगे। उधर प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने मंगल मिशन की सफलता पर वैज्ञानिकों और देशवासियों को बधाई दी। उन्होंने कहा कि कम साधनों और विषम परिस्थितियों के बावजूद भारत ने सफलता हासिल की है।
इंडिया हैज सक्सेसफुली रीच्ड मार्स। आप सबको बधाई, देशवासियों को बधाई। और विश्व में भारत देश और ये हमारे भारत के वैज्ञानिक वो पहले प्रयास में सफल होने वाला हिंदुस्तान के वैज्ञानिक ये सफलता प्राप्त कर रहे हैं। हिस्ट्री हैज बीन क्रिएटेड टुडे। वी हैव dared to reach out into the unknown and have achieved the near impossible. I congratulate all ISRO scientists as well as all my fellow Indians on this historic occasion.
और इस सफलता पर देश भर के वैज्ञानिकों ने अलग अलग तरह की प्रतिक्रियाएं दी हैं। सभी ने खुशी जाहिर की है और मंगल मिशन से जुड़े वैज्ञानिकों और देशवासियों को भी बधाई दी।
Yeah, Mars orbiter mission is a mission where we as Indians we want to be part of the exploring the, you can say, the universe, and it's the first attempt.
US and Russia been able to do it in the first time. So we are the only country. It shows how capable we are, and it has implications, commercial implications, because all the countries will come to us.
ये सचमुच आज मंगल का दिन है, बुधवार नहीं है, आज मंगल का दिन है, क्योंकि इतना अच्छा मंगल न्यूज हमको पहुंचा हुआ है। ये जब मिशन का शुरुआत हुआ था नवंबर 5, 2023 में, हम लोग इतना उत्कंठा, इतना एक्साइटमेंट के तक आज 300 दिन तक वेट किया था, एंड आज का इनका सुखद एंड बहुत ही सक्सेसफुल न्यूज मिला।
आज हमारे देश एक बहुत बड़ा कामयाबी हासिल किया है, और वो भी पहले अटेम्प्ट में, एंड दैट इज एक्सीलेंट।
साफ तौर पर चारों तरफ खुशी की लहर है। और अजय, कई बार जैसा कि आपने कहा भी कि वैज्ञानिकों को छोड़ दें तो दूसरे एनजीओ या फिर कुछ संगठन तरह तरह की बातें करते हैं। प्राइवेट सेक्टर में काम हो तो कोई आरोप नहीं, लेकिन अगर सरकारी संगठन संस्था करती है तो ज़रूर होता है। लेकिन 1975 के बाद अगर मैं कहूँ इस पूरे मिशन को जिस तरीके से करके आगे बढ़े हैं इसरो के जरिए, इस मिशन, इस पड़ाव को आप कैसे देख रहे हैं? क्या इससे पहले तमाम पड़ाव इसी के बराबरी के थे, लेकिन ये किस तरीके से अलग दिखता है आपको बाकी पड़ाव से?
मेरे विचार से ये एक बड़ा वैल्यू एडिशन है, और हमें ये दो अंगों में देखना चाहिए। एक तो इसरो का सक्सेस, वो एक टेक्नोलॉजिकल सक्सेस है, और इंडिया का क्या सक्सेस है। इंडिया का कोई एक स्ट्रैटेजिक सक्सेस है इसमें, या कोई एक नेशनलिज्म की फीलिंग आती है। जैसे ही राकेश शर्मा जब पहली बार अंतरिक्ष में गए थे, तब देयर वाज अ ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ यूफोरिया इन द कंट्री, नेशनलिज्म की फीलिंग आई थी। तो अब हमारे लोगों को भी ये लगेगा कि हमारे साइंटिस्ट जो है वो इस हद तक इस देश को आगे ले जा सकते हैं कि जहाँ पे पीपल आर इवन ड्रीमिंग एंड रीचिंग टुवर्ड्स द मार्स। तो फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव आई थिंक इंडिया का एक ये वैल्यू एडिशन होगा। इतने दिन हम एक देश को प्रबल मानने में ये कहते थे कि हमारे पास न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स है तो ही हम प्रबल है, लेकिन अब हमें एक सॉफ्ट पावर में भी देखना चाहिए, खाली हार्ड पावर को नहीं देखना चाहिए। सो आई थिंक दिस इज एन अचीवमेंट ऑफ अ soft power capabilities of India, and we have demonstrated to the rest of the world that we are far better than many in the world.
But Mr. Sandler, Triumphalism, of course, is there, and it's a moment of celebration. But many people still say that despite all what India has achieved so far, including this mission, still we lag behind as far as the organized space research is concerned. How would you really endorse that?
I don't know whether I understood the question. You are saying people feel that we lag behind organized
space research.
I won't agree with that. I think ISRO culture, if you use that word, it is in fact a very finest example of organized activity, large-scale organized activity, team effort, which is planned sufficiently in advance, make it work on paper, then cut metal. So it is true, they go so deep into the subject for a general public, it seems it is very boring, that knowledge of what they are doing. But ISRO believes what they do, there should be a mechanism that their own children, these ISRO scientists, their own children must understand what they are doing. Their chowkidars must understand, the drivers must understand. So within that organization, I think the visibility is very high. Nobody really is worried. Nobody is having question marks there. But unfortunately, as I said, this information method of conveying to others, we are not perfect. We are not equipped, or maybe we don't give that much importance to that.
And in that you would include ISRO as well?
Pardon?
When you say that it's not being conveyed to the people properly, would you include
I'm including ISRO in that.
Okay.
ISRO also is not equipped to do that. They don't have many public relations people. And so this is one problem. But I think this kind of event, I think you asked this question, ये इससे सबसे बड़ी इम्पोर्टेंस है, पब्लिक में पता लग रहा है क्या हो रहा है. ये जो PSLV लॉन्च होता है, वो इतना टेक्निकल काम है उसमें लोगों को समझ नहीं आता उसका क्या फायदा होगा. पर इसमें एकदम दिखाई देता है कि इसमें कुछ हो रहा है. पहली चीज़ तो ये कुछ हो रहा है. फिर उसका सेकंड पॉइंट जो यही है कि उसका फायदा क्या है. तो जनरल पब्लिक के दिमाग में यही है, हाउ टू एक्सप्लेन इट. सी इफ यू आस्क मी व्हाट इज द बेनिफिट व्हेन वी विन a cricket match, it is very difficult to explain. It is so much emotions tied to that. Okay. Overwhelmingly people feel that happiness comes when such events take place. This is what has happened in this kind of mission. We are certainly proud that we are part of India. That kind of feeling it creates.
चलिए, बिल्कुल बहुत अहम है कि जैसा कि आपने कहा भी कि प्रचार प्रसार की ज़रूरत भी है और आम लोगों को ये भी पता लगे कि असल में इस मिशन के ज़रिए देश ने क्या उपलब्धि हासिल की है और देश के लोगों के लिए किस तरीके से आने वाले भविष्य में कहूँ कि बदलाव भी ला सकता है. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आप तमाम मेहमानों का. फिलहाल रुकेंगे कि यहाँ छोटे से ब्रेक, लेकिन ब्रेक के बाद नए मेहमानों के साथ ये खास चर्चा चलती रहेगी. रहिएगा हमारे साथ.